This is not just a breach of privacy. This is a digital assassination of the crown. According to high-level sources within the Monument Room at Sandringham, those were the chilling words Prince William uttered when the intelligence hit his desk this morning. For months, the world believed the coronation of King Charles III was a fragile moment of unity, a carefully polished stage where the mask of the monarchy remained firmly in place. But today, that mask hasn't just slipped, it has been shattered. Prince William is reportedly livid, reaching a scorched earth level of fury after learning that his brother, Prince Harry, allegedly wore a hidden recording device during the most sacred moments of the anointing ceremony. This isn't a tabloid gossip story anymore. This is a constitutional nightmare. We are talking about secret tapes, hours of raw, unedited audio from behind the heavy oak doors of Westminster Abbey and the private chambers of Buckingham Palace. I've watched this pattern in every fragile institution that's more afraid of truth than of scandal. The palace machine tried to control reality itself, telling us that the brothers had reached a peaceful understanding. But the reality is far darker. While William was standing side by side with his father, pledging his loyalty as the liege man of life and limb, his own brother was reportedly capturing every whisper, every sigh, and every private exchange of the king for a future multi-million-dollar media deal. To William, this isn't just about a sibling rivalry, it's about the merchandising of a 1,000-year-old legacy. He refuses to let his mother's sacred history or his father's crowning moment become collateral in a Hollywood rebrand. The future king has now declared a total financial and legal war. He has reportedly petitioned the Privy Council and the king himself with a devastating argument. Harry has not just left the family, he has infiltrated the institution as a hostile entity. The California risk is no longer a theory. It is a live weapon aimed at the heart of the British monarchy. You didn't just watch a routine royal event during that coronation. You watched a system reach its absolute breaking point. And now we are seeing the structural damage that was hidden behind the gold and the velvet. For Prince William, the revelation of these secret recordings is like discovering a crack in the foundation of an ancient house. You can't fix it by simply hanging a beautiful new painting. You have to look directly at the fracture. Palace insiders are describing the atmosphere at Kensington Palace not just as angry, but as a state of cold, legal panic. The palace has spent centuries perfecting the art of the polished stage, ensuring that the public only ever sees a flawless performance. But these alleged tapes from Harry have effectively ripped the curtain back, exposing the raw gears and grimy reality of the monarchy's inner workings. William is reportedly obsessed with a specific dossier, prepared by his intelligence team, titled The California Risk. It's not just about the money Harry might make. It's about the merchandising of grief and the fear that sacred royal legacy is being turned into a Hollywood rebrand. The betrayal feels even more personal because of the silent strategy the palace employed for months. They told us everything was fine, that the privacy was for recovery and dignity. But we now see that privacy was merely a shield used to manage the optics, while the truth was being dragged out at the last possible moment. Inside the palace walls, the whispers are getting louder. She deserved more than silence. There is a reported conflict between William and the old guard advisors. William wants to drop the guard and strike back, while the institution is terrified that more truth will only lead to more scandal. Every time basic questions were asked, the palace said the same thing: privacy, space, recovery. But you don't lose sight of a prince's loyalty for months by accident. William is now realizing that silence in a family is one thing, but silence in a public institution is a fatal error. He is no longer just a brother. He is a future king who has realized that if he doesn't stop the asset bleed now, there won't be a monarchy left to inherit. This is the moment the king's heir has decided. No more hiding. While the public was fed the narrative of a successful and historic ceremony, the reality behind the heavy oak doors of Buckingham Palace was a scene of utter chaos. We aren't just talking about a minor disagreement over seating charts. We are talking about a full-scale internal war between the Prince of Wales and the men in grey suits. The palace advisors who have spent their lives protecting the institution at the cost of the individuals within it. This is where the mask truly slips. Sources close to the internal communications team have leaked the existence of a high-priority email chain with a subject line that sent shockwaves through the court. She deserves more than silence. This wasn't a sentimental plea. It was a recorded confrontation. In these alleged secret tapes Harry captured, we reportedly hear the raw, unfiltered friction of a monarchy trying to operate like a corporation, while its members are bleeding like humans. William is said to have reached his limit with the optics-first policy. For years, the palace managed the perception, not the reality. They managed feelings, not the truth. But as these recordings suggest, the gears of the monarchy are grinding. Imagine an ancient clock in the castle. The hands are still moving, the gold is still shining, but inside, the teeth of the gears are worn down and snapping. If the palace doesn't stop to fix the internal rot, the whole system will collapse the moment the public needs it most. The conflict centers on a devastating paradox. William is fighting to protect the institution's dignity, while the recordings allegedly show that the institution itself was the one stripping that dignity away behind closed doors. The tapes supposedly capture whispers of unexpected complications and panic management during the weeks leading up to the coronation. It suggests that the palace wasn't just managing a ceremony, they were managing a crisis of trust. William's fury goes off, because these leaks don't just reveal what was said. They reveal how the palace tries to control reality itself. They didn't just manage the optics, they tried to manufacture a truth that didn't exist. Now, with Harry holding the digital receipts of these internal fights, William is forced to realize that the palace's greatest weapon, its silence, has been turned into its greatest liability. This wasn't transparency. It was the truth being dragged out of a dark room at the last possible moment. And the price of that delay might be the survival of the crown itself. In the quiet, high-ceilinged rooms of Clarence House, a different kind of coronation was taking place this week. A coronation of reality over protocol. According to those who were present, the moment King Charles finally heard the transcripts of these leaked recordings, the palace machine simply stopped. For a man who has lived his entire life by the rigid rules of royal optics, what he heard at Harry's bedside during their brief, tense reunion wasn't just a son's grievances, it was the sound of his own institution being weaponized against him. Insiders report that the king was visibly shaken, his voice heavy with a weight that no crown can match. He reportedly stood in front of his advisors, the men who have spent decades telling him that everything is fine, while the walls were cracking, and uttered the decree that has changed the monarchy forever. No more hiding. This wasn't just an emotional outburst from a father. It was a strategic dismantling of the palace's foundational myth. Charles realized that when a man of his age, who has spent 70 years obeying the protocol, says enough, it means the system has gone too far. He reportedly saw something in that silence, in the leaks, and in the panic management of the past few months that terrified him more than any bad headline ever could. He realized that the monarchy cannot survive as a harmless fairy tale if it is bleeding in real time. By choosing to break the machine, Charles is attempting to do what the institution never could: provide honest vulnerability. He is forcing a system that is more afraid of truth than of scandal to admit that it is mortal. The palace machine always wanted to keep the stage backdrop perfect, but these recordings of Harry's leaks have effectively pulled the curtain back on a scene that the public was never meant to see. Charles's decision to stop the palace spin isn't transparency for transparency's sake. It is a confession of survival. He knows that if the crown is to exist in the 21st century, it cannot go back to pretending that nothing ever breaks behind those heavy stone walls. This is the moment the king chose the man over the machine, and the fallout is only just beginning. The retaliation did not stop at the gates of Buckingham Palace. To truly understand the sheer ferocity of this battle, we must leave the gold-leafed rooms of London behind and travel 70 miles north to the Althorp estate, the ancestral seat of the Spencer family and the final resting place of Princess Diana. This is where the Windsor Civil War has found its most silent and deadly battlefield. According to high-level legal sources, Prince William has officially bypassed his brother's lawyers and gone directly to the one man who holds the keys to the Spencer legacy: Charles Spencer, the 9th Earl Spencer. For decades, The Earl has been the custodian of Diana's memory, the man who famously promised at her funeral to protect her blood family from the cold machinery of the monarchy. But today, William has reportedly turned that promise into a political weapon. He is no longer asking for his uncle's help. He is demanding his allegiance. The message delivered to Althorp was not a sentimental plea. It was a constitutional warning from the future king. William's argument is legally ruthless. He contends that by Harry leaking these secret coronation recordings, he has effectively forfeited his birthright to the Spencer legacy. The weapon William is wielding is a specific legal lever known as a discretionary hold. Most aristocratic trusts, including the millions Harry is due to receive on his 40th birthday, are managed by trustees who have the power to pause a payout if the beneficiary is deemed to be in a precarious position or acting against the reputation of the estate. William's legal team is reportedly building a dossier to prove that Harry's media crusade constitutes a direct threat to the family's historical standing. To William, this is a scorched earth strategy. He is urging the Althorp trustees to view any money flowing to California not as an inheritance, but as financing for the opposition. He is forcing Earl Spencer into an impossible bind. Stand with the son Diana worried about most, or stand with the man who will one day control the social and political standing of the entire Spencer line. This isn't just a family feud anymore. It is a siege. William is attempting to place Harry in a financial straitjacket, ensuring that every cent of Diana's money remains locked in a vault in London, overseen by trustees loyal to the crown. The message is clear. If Harry wants to sell secrets, he will have to do it without the Spencer safety net. To understand why Prince William's potential blockade is causing such a total meltdown in the Sussex household, we have to look beyond the headlines and directly into the cold, hard ledger. The reality of Harry and Meghan's new life in California is that it is incredibly, staggeringly expensive. According to financial experts, the burn rate of Brand Sussex is rapidly outpacing its income. For years, Prince Harry operated under a comforting assumption. He believed that no matter how bad things got with his father, the Spencer money was untouchable. He viewed it as his old money safety net, a reservoir of wealth that the firm could never reach. It was his golden parachute. But now, with the news that William is actively lobbying to freeze that trust, the parachute has been cut, while Harry is still in midair. Sources say that when the news reached California, Harry was absolutely devastated, a feeling that quickly turned into a white-hot fury. The timing could not be worse. The financial landscape for the couple has shifted dramatically in the last 12 months. The $20 million Spotify deal collapsed in a public humiliation, with top executives branding them grifters. The Netflix deal hangs by a thread, contingent on them producing hits that haven't materialized. The era of easy money in Hollywood is over, yet the bills keep coming. We are talking about a $14 million mortgage on the Chateau of Riven Rock. We are talking about private travel, massive legal fees for endless lawsuits in London, and a high-priced staff of PR agents and assistants. But the killer cost, the one that reportedly keeps Harry awake at night, is security. Since losing their taxpayer-funded police protection, Harry has been forced to pay for a private security detail that rivals that of a head of state. Estimates put this bill alone at $2 to $3 million a year. Without the steady drip of inheritance or a massive new contract, Harry is facing a genuine liquidity crisis. He's realizing that without that money, he is entirely dependent on his marketability in Hollywood, a fickle friend at best. This financial pressure is fueling a deep sense of paranoia. Harry reportedly feels encircled. He views William's actions not as protecting the family, but as petty, scorched earth revenge. Friends of the Duke suggest he sees a conspiracy. First, they took his military titles, then his HRH status, then they evicted him from Frogmore Cottage. Now, they are coming for the one thing that connects him to his mother's legacy. He argues privately that William has everything: the Duchy of Cornwall, the palaces, the crown jewels, while Harry has a mortgage and a podcast. To Harry, this financial blockade isn't just a legal move. It is the height of cruelty, designed to force him into total submission. As the sun sets over the manicured lawns of Montecito, the atmosphere inside the Sussex household is no longer one of defiant rebellion. It has shifted into a state of frantic isolation. Prince Harry is reportedly realizing that his brother, William, isn't just playing a game of headlines. He is playing a high-stakes game of attrition, strand by strand. The future king is pulling away the safety nets that Harry has relied on his entire life. But the most agonizing blow isn't coming from the men in grey suits at the palace. It is the deafening silence coming from Althorp House. For Harry, Earl Spencer was never just an uncle. He was the guardian of Diana's soul, the man who stood at Westminster Abbey and famously vowed to protect her sons from the cold machinery of the monarchy. Harry believed that the Spencer bloodline was his ultimate sanctuary, a place where the rules of the crown did not apply. But William's crown over blood ultimatum has changed everything. Sources suggest that as Earl Spencer weighs the future of his own estate against his loyalty to his nephew, Harry has begun a desperate campaign of phone diplomacy. He is reportedly working the phones at all hours, bypassing his uncle and reaching out directly to his aunts Lady Sarah McCorquodale and Baroness Jane Fellows, as well as his Spencer cousins. These are the people who remember Diana not as a global icon, but as a sister. Harry is allegedly pleading with them to intervene, to remind the Earl of the promise made in 1997. He is fighting to keep the Spencer channel open because he knows the terrifying truth. If the Spencer vault closes, his identity as the exiled prince loses its financial foundation, and he becomes just another celebrity struggling to pay for a private army in California. The paranoia in Montecito is reaching a boiling point. Harry reportedly feels encircled by his brother's legal reach. He sees a conspiracy in every move. First, the military titles, then the eviction from Frogmore, and now the potential freezing of his mother's legacy. To Harry, this isn't about legal trusts or the California risk. It is the height of cruelty. He views William as a man who has everything, the palaces, the duchy, the crown jewels, yet still begrudges Harry the one thing that connects him to his mother's memory. As the reality of this financial blockade sets in, the mood in the Sussex household has shifted from white-hot anger to a chilling, genuine fear for the future. To the casual observer, blocking a brother's inheritance might seem like a simple act of sibling rivalry or petty revenge. But inside the high-security briefing rooms of Kensington Palace, the motivation has shifted from emotional anger to cold, hard legal panic. This is where we uncover the true engine of Prince William's anxiety, a terrifying dossier titled The California Risk. This document, reportedly compiled by a team of elite international lawyers, outlines a scenario that William views as a total apocalypse for the British monarchy. The core of the fear isn't just that Harry will spend the money, it's that he will lose the legacy in an American courtroom. William is acutely aware that Harry and Meghan reside in California, a jurisdiction famous for its strict community property laws. His legal team has reportedly warned him about the devastating concept of commingling. They argue that once the Spencer inheritance, whether it's the $14 million cash or priceless family heirlooms, crosses the Atlantic and enters a joint account or is used to fund their Montecito lifestyle, it ceases to be a private royal asset. It becomes a marital asset. This leads to the nightmare scenario that keeps the future king awake at night. While the Sussexes publicly present a united front, royal watchers and palace courtiers discuss the possibility of a future divorce as a statistical reality they must plan for. If the marriage were ever to dissolve in a California court, a judge could technically order those Spencer assets to be split 50-50. Imagine the horror for William, seeing his mother's sacred emeralds or the funds meant for her bloodline awarded to Meghan Markle as part of a spousal support package. To William, that isn't just a legal loss, it is a historical desecration. But there is a second layer to the California risk. William fears the merchandising of grief. He believes that by handing over the residual estate, including the secret recordings Harry allegedly made at the coronation, the palace is essentially handing over the crown's intellectual property to Netflix. He refuses to let his mother's legacy, or his father's most sacred ceremony, become content for a Hollywood rebrand. By demand a freeze, William is attempting to place a digital and financial seal on the family's history. He is framing this blockade not as a theft, but as a protective trust. He tells the executors, "I am not taking the money. I am safeguarding it for Archie and Lilibet." This is a master stroke of soft power. It casts William as the responsible guardian of the next generation, and Harry as the reckless spendthrift who cannot be trusted with the keys to the vault. It declares the Duke of Sussex financially incompetent to manage the legacy of the Spencer family. The message from London is loud and clear. You can live in America, but you cannot auction off the British monarchy to pay for your life there. Imagine the sheer psychological devastation for a man who has spent the last 4 years shouting from the rooftops of Montecito about freedom and financial independence. Prince Harry fled the United Kingdom to escape the control of what he called the men in grey suits, the faceless bureaucrats who managed the lives of the royals. He wanted to be his own man, the master of his own destiny. But if Prince William's protective trust strategy is successfully activated, Harry will find himself in a situation that is perhaps more humiliating than any military title stripping or eviction. On his 40th birthday, instead of receiving the keys to a multi-million-dollar kingdom, he will be legally treated like a reckless, incompetent teenager. This is the genius and the cold-blooded cruelty of William's long game. By placing the $14 million into a frozen, UK-based subtrust, the future king isn't technically stealing the money. He is simply saying that Harry cannot be trusted to hold the wallet. Under this structure, Harry will have to submit receipts, justifications, and financial plans to a board of trustees just to access his own mother's money. Every dollar released would come with strings attached. Every cent would be overseen by people who ultimately report back to his brother. For a 40-year-old father of 2, who lives in a $14 million mansion and flies on private jets, having to ask permission to pay his mortgage is a soul-crushing blow. William is effectively practicing the ultimate form of tough love. He is betting on the fact that Harry does not have the time, the liquidity, or the stomach for a protracted, decade-long legal battle in the High Court of London against the Prince of Wales. William has the full weight of the crown, the best lawyers in the world, and most importantly, time. Harry, meanwhile, has a burn rate estimated to be millions of dollars a year. William is playing a game of attrition, waiting for the Sussexes' financial reserves to run dry so that the Montecito rebellion collapses under the weight of its own debt. This plan also perfectly neutralizes Harry's greatest weapon, the media. If Harry goes on Oprah or writes another book complaining that William is stealing his inheritance, William can simply point to the trust and say, "The money is safe. It is sitting in a bank, protected for Archie and Lilibet, so that their father doesn't waste it on PR agents and lawyers." It corners Harry completely. He cannot complain about theft without admitting his own financial vulnerability. The message from the palace is clear. You can burn the bridge, but don't expect the supply truck to keep driving across it. True freedom has a price tag, and Harry is about to find out exactly how much it costs when the Spencer safety net is pulled away, strand by strand. As the fog settles over the Althorpe estate and the lights dim in the corridors of Kensington Palace, one thing becomes painfully clear. This is no longer just a family feud. It is a tragedy of legacy. The battle for the Spencer vault and the fallout from the Coronation recordings teach us a brutal but necessary lesson about the reality of power and privilege. You cannot burn the bridge and then expect the supply truck to keep driving across it. For 4 years, Prince Harry has preached the gospel of freedom. Freedom from the institution, freedom from the press, and freedom from the rigid rules of his father's world. But he seems to have forgotten that true freedom in the real world comes with a staggering price tag. You cannot spend years attacking the very source of your privilege and then act surprised when that privilege is revoked. From a strategic perspective, Prince William is not acting out of simple malice or sibling rivalry. He is practicing the ultimate form of tough love on a global stage. He is drawing a final line in the sand that says, "The memory of our mother is not a commodity to be traded for Hollywood clout, and the sanctity of the crown is not a script for a reality show." William realizes that if he doesn't stop the flow of assets now, The thousand-year history of the Spencer and Windsor families will end up as nothing more than a plot point in a future season of a streaming series. He is choosing to be the villain in Harry's story today so that he can be the hero in Diana's history forever. He is protecting the future of the monarchy by ensuring that its secrets remain secret and its dignity remains intact, even if it means alienating his only brother. By implementing the Protective Trust and the California Risk Dossier, William has effectively neutralized the rebellion. He has shown that while Harry may have the microphones, William has the keys to the vault. He has moved the battle from the court of public opinion to the court of financial attrition, and in that arena, the crown always wins. Now, the gavel passes to the jury of public opinion. Is Prince William right to block his brother's inheritance to protect the family honor and prevent the merchandising of their mother's memory? Or is he being unnecessarily cruel by denying Harry his birthright and treating a 40-year-old man like a ward of the state? Cast your vote in the comments. Type Team William if you think the vault should stay locked to protect the monarchy. Type Team Harry if you believe the inheritance belongs to him regardless of his actions. The royal checkbook is closing, but as we've seen, the drama is only just beginning.